You got it?
I got it. So there we are live. Give me 1 second so I can share the link. So how have you been, Scott?
Doing well, doing well. How you doing?
Good, good. How are you keeping up with the entire quarantine thing?
Oh, just probably like everyone else. Just hanging out. I already work from home anyway, so it didn't really affect me very much.
Yeah. So I know you well, and I know that you're an amazing entrepreneur, and I know that you are very strategic on your online business and in you're basically doing advertising. But could you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure,
Introduce yourself.
sure. So basically, I even created a presentation just for this. So let me see. Let's see if I can switch it if it'll work. Is it did my thing just crash?
Let me see. No, let me see. No, we're seeing your. No, we need your camera, I think.
Okay, here, I think this just crashed. Let me see if I can just pull my webcam over. Let's do that.
That's okay. Take your time.
I had this whole thing already planned out, and of course we have technical problems, right?
It's fine. That's why we come a little bit early, so we make sure that everything is
Excellent,
gonna go
excellent.
well.
So there we are. Let me just, I'll open this back up. But yeah, so hi guys, my name's Scott. I've been doing technology consulting for 20 years. I've started multiple seven-figure e-commerce websites. Um, Ran as a partner and as a primary owner, two different media agencies. We build out web apps right now. Other than that, let's see, I've done a lot of media consulting for high traffic websites. But what I wanted to talk about today is basically starting a business in a recession. I have some experience with that, and it yeah, basically, I just want you all to know that there's an opportunity here, um, and things are bad, but they could be a lot worse. And if you seize this opportunity correctly, then you can even flourish coming out of the recession. And so that's basically what I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about.
Okay, so why don't we get started?
Excellent, excellent. So here, let me see if I can pull up my presentation. I don't know, can I present directly from here?
There is a button, a green one, not share screen. Let me
Let's see.
see.
Yeah, it does have share screen. Excellent. So I'll just do that, and then we'll just kind of go through that. Let's see. Here we are. Share. Okay, cool. Are you seeing my presentation?
I do.
Okay, cool. So here I am. This is pretty much just what I just told you. This is just a little bit about me. It's not super important, but the main thing that I want to talk about today is how to get your business going, and how to utilize the most effective and also the cheapest lead source available. And basically, to get all this going, one of the things that you've got to think about are who you're targeting, and who you're trying to help. The goal of any business, of course, is to make money, but one of the biggest things is that you're trying to help other people. People pay you for the service you provide because you're helping them in some way, whether it's a product or a service. And so it's really important when doing this to basically hone in on exactly what you want to do. I think if you're in the beauty industry, there's a lot of different things you can do, but people tend to pay specifically for specialists. And so defining the scope of your services is really important. If you're going out there and you're saying, oh, well, I'm good at a little bit of everything, then a lot of people will kind of shy away from that, because if they want something done right, they're going to go to someone who's really good at exactly what they want. And so you need to think a lot about that. When the 2008 crash happened, let's see, I'll stop share. There we are. So I found myself, I was working for an advertising agency, one of the largest advertising agency in Arizona. And I was just gotten my feet wet and was really getting the hang of things. And then the market crashed and they laid off half the company. Everyone lost their job, or half the company lost their job. They lost half of their contracts. Their clients didn't want to spend money on ads anymore. And so I came back to North Carolina, where I'm from Arizona, and had to make a decision. Okay, do I want to try to find another job in a tough job market, or do I want to lean on my skills and start my own job or start my own business? And so slowly but surely, I was able to build up a clientele, and eventually turn that clientele into a full-scale advertising agency and marketing agency. And one of the ways that I did that during the recession was basically focusing in on just a few key things, namely SEO and web design. And so think of this in beauty terms, what's your main thing that you work on? Is it microblading like Arena's doing? Is it, hair salon? There's a ton of different things that you could be doing, but you need to focus on those things and then jot down notes and figure out all of these little sub items. So for example, like what is the cost of your services? Who's a typical customer? You need to really, really be very specific about this and be judgmental about your customers. Figure out who they are, who you're going to reach out to, and more importantly than that, what they're worth. And so, in microblading, I've obviously have microblades done, but I was reading that it's a recurring service that people might get touch-ups every 9 to 18 months. And so depending on your price, people are going to be coming back in, and if they are long-term clients, they could potentially be worth thousands of dollars. And so figuring out what those people are worth on a long-term basis, your lifetime value for your customers is going to be really important. And so that kind of brings me into the next thing. With service jobs, you're trading your time for your money. And so if you own a salon or you own a microblading business and you have people who work for you, it still is the same thing. You're trading other people's time for money. But time is your most valuable asset. And so what you need to think about while you're not working, if people say business is dried up because no one can come in right now because of coronavirus, you need to think about creating value outside of your normal way of earning money. And so to earn a lot of money, if you are in a service industry or even in a product type business, the amount of money that you earn is going to be directly proportional to the number of people you talk to every day. And so depending on what sort of value you have to offer, if you have, you're selling sandwiches, then that's a pretty low value product. So to make a lot of money, you have to sell a whole lot of them. And so you need to interact with a ton of people. And that sandwiches are kind of a nice example because everyone always has to eat. And so, it's easy to do high volumes there. But if you have a higher value product or service, then you can get away with having lower interactions. And so one of the things that's important with this is always having a good attitude. When you're dealing with people, since basically the amount of money you're making is going to be directly correlated to the number of people you talk to, you have to be likable and you have to be someone that you would want to do business with. And so you need to think about that when you're talking to people. For my business personally, since there's a lot of high, for a client, for me, it's very high value. And so what I do, I just follow the rule of 3. I try to have 3 very valuable interactions per day, whether it's talking to someone that I want to do business with, talking to someone that I'm already doing business with, or just talking with my employees and people that are in my business to help me earn more money. If you do that on a monthly basis, if you do that every day of the month, then you're going to have 90 of those interactions per month. And if you make them different types of interactions, then adding value, it becomes a cumulative effect. So month 1, 90, month 2, 180, month 3, 270. And if you keep doing that and you follow up with these people, then eventually your business will build a whole lot. And so that's going to bring me to the next slide about the most valuable type of business, Pareto principle. So this is what I was talking about. Sorry for going back a little bit. But if you're doing a lot of this work now, then it's going to show up on the back end, basically. I should have gone to the next slide. And so by busting your ass now, when you're not basically earning a ton of money because you can't, because your business is shut down from coronavirus, you're going to reap benefits in the long term. And so most people, they get sort of tired. They say, oh, well, Scott, it's stupid. Like, why would I reach out to 3 people a day? You have to make yourself do it. The more you do that, and the more you establish these little habits, the more benefit you'll reap in the end. And so the best client that you have is a referral client. This is especially true in a service business like in the beauty world, where pretty much everyone that you're talking to, you have to see, or everyone that you're helping, you have to see them in person. And so typically, at least talking to my girlfriend, she's told me that she takes recommendations from other women before going and getting a service. She rarely is going to go, she'll go online and look at reviews, but for like a high price beauty service, a lot of times she's not going to just, go online and just find someone on Google. And if she does, because she doesn't know anyone who can give her, it's only because she doesn't know anyone who can give her a recommendation. And so the best type of business you can get this referral business. And the great part about it is that it's mostly free. There are things that you can and should do to help your referrals. And we're going to talk about that. But this is by far the best type of business you can possibly have. People who come in from referrals already got a recommendation from someone who's used your services. So they already are fully bought in. They're already impressed with you. You're making a personal connection with them that you can get more referrals from in the future. And I mean, this is something that's just going to keep building. So referrals in times of economic hardship are the best sort of leads. And they're really the best sort of leads anyway, because it's very low cost. So how do you go about generating more referrals during a downturn in the economy? This is a really important thing. So first rule is you have to provide value. And so what I mean by that is you need to provide information to people about things that information about things they're interested in, or you need to help other people with things that they need help with, or provide services to them. In some cases, if they don't have a lot of money, but they can give you referrals, providing those services for free. But this is a time when you really need to lean on your talent to utilize your network and the relationships that you're building to create more referral business. And long term, this is going to really pay off. So now is the time to make friends, basically. So you need to go out and ask yourself, who already has your customers? Who can you help that can help you? And how can you incentivize these people to help you? How can you make them want to help you? There are a lot of businesses, especially in the beauty space, where they have the exact same customers, but they might not provide the exact same services. And so becoming friends with the people who run those businesses is essential. If someone runs, for example, let's go through the next thing. Here's some complementary businesses for the beauty space. So if someone runs a nail salon and you're doing microblading, and you can find a way to get the person in the nail salon either to give them discounted microblading or free microblading, so they're referring customers to you, then that's just going to become referral business that keeps on growing. And so I just listed out 10 potential complementary businesses that you could partner with, or make offers to, or become friends with, that can give you referrals. So hair salons, nail salons, spa services where people are going and getting facials and they want to look good, plastic surgery clinics. A lot of these places might do some microblading or some of these other services themselves. Makeup stores, estheticians, dress and bridal shops. Everyone wants to look good for their wedding. So, becoming friends with the person who works at the dress store, the bridal store would be a great idea. Wedding planners, photographers, and high-end retail. So if you're going to buy really nice clothing and the purpose is that you're going out and you want to look good. So like say, you're not going obviously to Target for your high-end stuff, but you're buying a really nice dress or outfit, then becoming friends with the people who work in these places so they can give you referrals is crucial. And a lot of them will happily do it if you go out and you help them with something. So if you provide them with your service for a discounted price or even free in some case, without the expectation of anything in return. If you just say, hey, I'm going to do this for you. I think you could help me. I can help you. Then do it. But if you do it under the pretense that you're telling them up front, I'm doing this because you're going to give me things in the long run, then a lot of people will kind of see that as a fake friendship. So it needs to be authentic. So here we have, someone you might want to be friends with, Rachel. So Rachel runs a day spa and her customers spend a lot of money for her services. She has the same customers you do. And so how can you make someone like her your friend? Well, you need to think about how could she approach you to become your friend if the shoe was on the other foot? And so don't offer people anything less than what you would take to do what you're asking them to do. Just follow the golden rule. If someone wants you to give them a referral, you're probably going to want to use their service before, because I don't know about you. I wouldn't personally refer someone to a business if I didn't have any experience with the business or hadn't had, used their service or product before. But yeah, I mean, with that, basically treat people how you would like to be treated if they were asking you the same thing. And that's a really easy thing to do. It's basically just about having these kind of conversations with people. This might be a little more difficult for someone who's an introvert, but if you are an introvert and you don't like going out into the public and dealing with people, you can do certain things, like, for example, creating a video on your phone and dropping it in people's DMs. So on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever it is, and just do a personalized video. Say their name in the video so they know that you didn't just make a generic video just for anyone, but do a personalized video for them and say, hey, I've got this service. I'd really love to help you with this and do this for you if you'd be interested. I think we have a lot of ways that we could help each other. And people during downturns in the economy are really looking for that kind of help. So it's a good thing. Other ways to drive new leads, of course, free services for other businesses, or, for example, social media models. Social media models, if you can find one in your area, there are probably a lot in LA. But if you can find one in your area, they'd be great to give some free microblading services to, because you would have to pay that person otherwise for them to do, for them to post up your business. And so if you can get them to do it for free by providing a free service, that's awesome. And it's the same thing. You have to think of, when you provide these free services, you have time on your hands that you can give. But the bigger thing is, you would be paying these people to advertise your business anyway. And so if you're going to get leads from another, like a salon that doesn't offer microblading, or like a bridal shop, you would have to pay them in most cases if you wanted them to advertise for you. You'd have to incentivize them in some way. And you probably should still incentivize them. And so we're going to talk about how to do that, and how you can actually turn these kind of physical interactions into quantifiable metrics, so you can track these later on. So you can know, hey, I gave Rachel at the spa my card, and it had my phone number and website on it, but how do I know that she actually sent me business? And if I tell Rachel, hey, I'll pay you $50 or $100 if you send me a referral. Because the thing is, you might have to discount your service on the front end for that one client, right? By paying Rachel. But on the back end, if you've turned that client into a recurring customer and you get them to give you more referrals because you provide a good service, Rachel is worth a ton of money to you. And so it's totally worth it. If Rachel gives you 10 clients, then, and you charge them all, let's say you charge them all full price, then Rachel is basically worth, charging people 90%. If you have 10 clients, or 9 clients rather, and you charge them all full price, but you give Rachel the thing for free, it's like you gave everyone a 10% discount, just by helping Rachel that one time. And so it's, basically give the right people free services or targeted discounts. And so targeted discounts, if you want to target people on social media, say you want to do some online advertising, or just in general, target holidays, celebrations, different milestones like weddings, that sort of thing, for discounted services, just trying to get people in the door. And this also kind of plays into who you're talking to. If you're talking to a wedding planner and they say, oh, well, hey, you want to look good for your wedding, I know this person who provides microblading or whatever beauty service, that's a great person to give a discount to, or to become friends with, and then give discounts to their customers to drive up your business. Another thing, so something I noticed big time when I was Googling, I Googled microblading Charlotte, and I found that the top result was a girl with 6 reviews online. She didn't have anything. She had a horrible website. She only had 6 reviews posted by other people on Yelp, and that was it. And so setting up a customer feedback program where you can incentivize people to give you reviews on Google or Yelp is huge. It's a really easy thing to implement. You can, either tell people, hey, if you give me a review, I'll give you, a certain % off, or maybe a discount, or, just give them a card at the end of whatever, when your service is done, and say, hey, I'd really appreciate it if you leave me a review in one of these places. That tends to work really well, and it's going to drive up your ranking on Google and Yelp. So when people are looking for you, they'll be able to find you, and you'll be able to beat this silly girl who had 6 reviews on Google. So that's a really easy thing to implement, a really easy thing to do. Another thing, packaging your services. So if you want to, say, for example, you're doing microblading and you want to offer people a package with another provider, say like a nail salon, say, hey, if you buy this package, these guys will also include this. And then you're sharing revenue with them, but it becomes more attractive for people. If you're getting, like, for example, a full makeover and you only provide one of the services, but people who are providing all the rest of the services, then setting up package deals where they can buy part of the package and then you revenue share with the other people. It's a really easy thing to do. Last but not least, apprenticeship programs. I'm not sure what your state is like. There are some states where they don't have these sort of regulations. But in my state, for example, to become a hair braider, you have to train for 300 hours as an intern under an existing hair braider before you're allowed to apply and get your hair braiding license. And so if you're working in the beauty space, I'm sure that a lot of you probably work somewhere where they have licensing requirements. But the way you can look at this is, if you want, basically free referrals, then bring on interns or apprentices, people who are trying to get their license to provide a beauty service. Those people are going to be huge because they're going to want to, they're going to want to be working, and they'll have friends, and their friends will have friends. So that's another easy way to drive free leads. So let's see. So you're getting leads, but where you're sending them matters. And so platforms, so you can track your leads. It sucks if you, for example, say you go out and you make all these friends and they're sending you referrals, but you don't have a way to reward them because you don't know who gave you what business or how much business they gave you. Say you want to send them a nice gift card, or you worked out a deal where you give them a kickback. You need to know and be able to quantify how much business they gave you. And letting them know that you know how to do this too is important. I encourage people to, if you have a physical space, combine your physical and your digital in one. So you can use different systems that have like their own point of sale systems built in. So a great one, the cheapest one to use probably is Squarespace. You can get a Squarespace website that does everything with point of sale for, I think it's $29 a month. And it also allows people to schedule appointments with you. And I mean, you can take live credit cards on the spot. They can pay for the services online, and it'll track everything. It's a really, really easy thing to do. And so I've just kind of listed out these products here in order of price. So Squarespace is probably the least expensive. Shopify, it requires a few plugins, and it's really made for e-commerce, but you can also use it for this. They have a physical point of sale system as well, and a scheduling system. WordPress is going to be more expensive, but it's going to offer you a lot of flexibility that the other ones don't offer you. And if you want a custom website for this, then you probably are, you're just a glutton for punishment. It's too expensive. So if someone offers you a custom beauty website that they're coding from scratch, say no, because they're going to charge you way too much money for something that probably won't work very well. So next, how do you know that it's working? Let's talk about attribution. This is the number one thing when I talk to anyone who is struggling with marketing. The number one thing they tell me is that, Scott, I just don't know where my marketing dollars are going. I don't know that it's working. I don't know that I want to keep doing this. Why should I hire you to help? And almost every single time, it's because their attribution is messed up. And that may sound like a scary word, but all that means is that they don't have a way of tracking how many dollars it took in marketing spend to generate one client or one sale, and B, they don't have a centralized place to do all that. So they don't know, like, say they had a physical sale and someone called in. How do they know that came from their internet marketing? They probably don't. And all of that gets back to attribution problems. And so if you're running these sort of referral campaigns, going from physical leads to virtual credit so you can track all of your business stuff is super important. And so we're in the beauty space. So Vanity sells. This is if you want to track physical interactions and all this, basically, say you give someone a card or a piece of marketing material that's physical, then you need to have unique URLs or unique phone numbers that ties to those people that are distributing your stuff. So if you go to work, or say you go to partner with another business owner, how do you know that the lead they sent you came from them? You need to make sure that whatever you're giving them, whatever asset, is unique to them. And so that's what this vanity stuff is. So a vanity domain is going to be like your own short domain that's going to be different than your main domain, that's individualized to that person or a group of people. Vanity link is going to be a link that's already on your website that you can use, that's going to be individualized to those people. I wouldn't recommend using them as much as domains, because with vanity links, you have to put in the slash and everything behind the slash, and it can become, a lot of people just don't do it. They'll just go to the main URL, and then it kind of defeats the purpose of having the vanity link. And so I would encourage people to use a vanity domain first. And then last but not least, vanity phone numbers. If you're giving out business cards to another business to give you referrals, using a system, for example, there's something called CallRail that will give you unique phone numbers, and you can get, I think it's $4 for a unique phone number, but you buy it, I believe it's $45 a month. And they basically, each unique phone number you tie to a campaign. And so if you give a stack of cards to your friend who runs another sort of beauty business, and they call in from that phone number, you'll be able to match up, okay, this person called me from this number and I booked that person. So now that person's getting credit. And the great part is all of this can happen automatically in Google Analytics. So Google Analytics is free. You can tie in these services, but the most important thing is that you work with someone who knows how to set this stuff up. 9 times out of 10, people will have Google Analytics, but they didn't know how to set it up. They just dropped a little bit of code on their website and they think it just works, but it doesn't. And so if you want this to work properly, reach out to a professional like myself, or probably any of the people who are speaking with Arena, and basically ask them for help setting up their analytics and your attribution funnels. So then you will know exactly what's happening. You can see everything from your sales to how many affiliates are driving sales for you, your total traffic to your website. It's all there and it's free. So make sure that if you get Google Analytics, or not if, but when you're using Google Analytics, that you have a professional help you set it up. So just to recap, here's some of the tools you'll need that I talked about. So callrail.com is down here. This is basically a service that gives you the vanity phone numbers and lets you track all your calls. Rebrandly and ClickMeter are both tools for tracking links and URLs. And so there are other services. And then Zapier is a great automation service that you can use to tie a lot of these things together. So for example, if you get a call from CallRail and it comes in, then you can actually have Zapier email you as a reminder to book that appointment, or email you to give credit and to remind you to give credit to this other person. That's, hey, say someone calls your vanity phone number. Well, Zapier is going to email that person after the call comes in and let them know that someone called. And so then they might follow up with you to ask, hey, did this person become your customer? If you're giving them a kickback, of course, they're going to want their little bit of money. But it'll let them know that what they're doing is working, and it'll also, keep you accountable and let you know, okay, here's how all my marketing is working. And here's, it'll give you a full kind of overview of how that stuff works. So the last thing, this is the most important part of this whole thing. If you're going out and you're creating all of these relationships with people, you have to keep up the relationship. You can't just go out and meet people or other business owners and expect them to keep giving you leads. They're not going to do that. So you have to make sure you keep calling them, that you stay in their lives and you stay in the back of their mind. If you have a service, for example, that you have a bunch of competitors and other people are trying to do this as well, a lot of people say, hey, I got a guy or I got a girl who does this. And it's the person who they use the most often. It's not just anyone. And so the key to being that person that they mention is staying fresh in their mind. So a good way to do this, you go out and create these relationships with people, is just set schedules. And you can even do automated emails to follow up with your friends and these people that you're going to meet. So do that and just say, hey, and it can be something really simple, like, hey, how's it going? How's your business doing? That's it. Open-ended question. keeps you in their mind. And then hopefully they respond to you. Follow up with a phone call, that sort of stuff. But be genuine. Don't just be a chump who's calling them saying like, hey, where are my leads? You can't do that. You have to call them up and say, hey, my, this has been working really well for me in my business, or even if nothing's been working and you're struggling, say, hey, I've been having some hardship with this. How's your business going? Do you have any recommendations? There's nothing people like more than being asked for their advice, because it signals that you respect their opinion. And so if you call someone up and you say, hey, I've been a little struggling with this, how do you handle that? A lot of people, most of the time, will be kind of humbled by it, unless you're asking them, of course, how do I run my business? Then that can be kind of an annoying question. But if you have something specific and you need advice, that can ingratiate you to other people, besides just talking about leads. And of course, if you're becoming friends with people, ask about their kids, ask about their personal lives, how they're doing. All that sort of stuff will help nurture these relationships and keep you in their mind to keep your business coming. Now, if you go back to the beginning, so here's thank you. So if we go back to the beginning, remember, each one of your customers is worth a ton of money, or hopefully they're worth a ton of money, but each one of them is important, and the referrals that they can give you are important. And so building this up over time is really important. The key is persistence. And so the best thing that I can recommend doing, like I said, is basically doing your outreach. I say the rule of 3 because, if you're busy, say you have, other things you're doing with work. 3 seems to be like a reasonable number for like stuff that, a number of people to reach out to. If you can reach out to 8 or 10 or 12 in a day and actually have a meaningful conversation with them and, build up those relationships, by all means do it. Like if you don't have anything to do and you got all day free, make a list of people you should talk to who fall into these business buckets, and then go out and hit the pavement and become their friend. And if becoming their friend means, hey, you would look great if I microbladed your eyebrows for you, then do it, because all you're doing is trading your time for those referrals in the long run. And you don't have to, and like I said, don't be pushy about them giving you leads. You do it because you're just being a cool person. And then that person will say, oh, that person was really nice. They'd like to send me business. You'd say, it'd be nice if you could send me some business too. And I promise you they will. But if you go out and you set up this sort of very transactional relationship where you don't care about that person and they don't care about you, well, I can promise you they won't care about you. And so you need to make sure that the people you're working with and you're trying to help them lift them up, that they know that you're trying to help lift them up too. And so I guess that's the main thing. When I got my business going after the 2008 recession, a lot of it was providing discounted services to people because people's finances were in trouble and they had credit problems. And so I would help them with websites and with SEO and marketing at rates that I wouldn't dare help someone with now. But back then, when I was building my business, creating this network, that would be really what allowed me to build up to the point where I didn't have to really even go hunting for leads anymore because I had so many referrals coming in. And so that's basically the gist of it. I think a lot of that stuff, obviously, a lot of y'all already know that. If you want like more information about the technical details and how to do set up a lot of these systems and websites and get everything rolling this way, I'm happy to help with that. Yeah, Irina, you got anything else?
Yeah, I think you're amazing by sharing so much knowledge. And I know a lot of people, they're afraid of the tech side and downloading and trying to learn something new. But guess what? You guys have a lot of free time right now on your hands, and take advantage of the time, and rather than watch Netflix, at least like download one of the platforms and try to understand what we are actually doing here, because there is a lot of if you don't put the work and actually use the new opportunities that they're coming along, like online marketing and actually like building a relationship with those referrals. I know that you mentioned earlier, like go out and speak with people. I know you didn't mention exactly like go out right now in the quarantine,
Right.
But actually go out and like reach out to those people and call them and be like, hey, I know that your eyebrows might be awful right now during the quarantine, but I can't wait to come back and I'm going to do your eyebrows and you're going to look again gorgeous. Like we all feel down because we can't wash our hair to our local hair shop or do our nails. But I guess it is what it is. Like being like a good resource for your community. I think it's all that, it resumes it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, 100%. And, like you said, you're not gonna be able to go out like physically to their place right now, but you can still reach out to them and you can, the key is to be personable. And when you're doing your outreach, especially with something where you're cutting up someone's face, like microblading, like you're gonna want to have a little bit of a personal relationship with that person, at least a little bit, it seems like, unless, if you're getting referrals because you're great at your job, that's best case scenario, because then you don't really have to have much of a personal relationship at all. The work speaks for itself. But for getting people to refer you business, obviously they're going to have used your service at some point, but it also helps a lot if they like you.
Exactly. And I mean, what else do you have home rather than, like you were saying, like put a hand on your phone and call those people? Or even if you are introvert, well, you are introvert, but like at the end of the day, like I think everybody's in such a survival mode these days that if you don't reach out to those people, they might find you dead under your sofa. I don't know. Like, it's
Yeah, I
important to
hope
keep
not.
contact with, like, especially on these like national pandemic thing, is really important to, like check out on people that you care for.
Yep. And if you're an introvert, there's something that I have friends who are introverted salespeople, and it sounds like it's kind of an oxymoron, and they shouldn't be salespeople. But what they do is they take boilerplated assets. And so what I mean by that is they'll take like a video, like a marketing video for their company, and then they'll personalize the first 30 seconds to like a minute of it. And so they'll throw on a little introduction. And there's a lot of things on your phone. You can get apps that will do this for you, where you can record like a little greeting, say, hey, saw that you had this business. I think that's super interesting. I just wanted to let you know about my business, and I'd be happy to give you complimentary service or a discount. But be personal and mention their name. And then you're not actually having to have that phone conversation where it's really awkward and you're like, oh no, like I don't know what to say to this stranger that I'm calling, trying to find, get business with. All you have to do is create these kind of personalized introductions over and over again, put your little video on the end, and hit send. And so if you're bashful or shy, it's really easy to do that. And hopefully you're not so shy that you won't send someone an email or a message,
Well, I guess you need to pay the bill, so you better send that email, right?
Yeah,
I guess
exactly.
we kind of like, I'm an introvert myself as well, but I know that in order to be able to, build a business and have a life, you kind of like have to socialize with people, no matter how much you have to get out of your comfort zone. And I mean, it is what it is. So especially now that people have a lot of free time, maybe do a self-development video on teaching how to, approach humans. And whenever this is
Yeah.
over, you could just go out and like get more customers.
Well, exactly. And, like I said in the presentation, when you have this free time, build value. And even if that's investing in yourself and learning a new skill, just make sure you're building value. And, a good thing to do with this stuff, a lot of what I mentioned is pretty low cost. And so, there isn't anything that's truly free as far as like advertising besides these sort of referral relationships if you already have them. But if you don't have them, there is some cost involved in getting them, whether it's your time, a little bit of money. All the services I mentioned are relatively, like, I think Shopify is $29 a month. Squarespace is $29 a month for the ones that give you the point of sale system, so you can take physical cards, or and they give you a full website that you can set up. That's pretty low cost. And a lot of them give you free advertising credits too. They'll give you $100 in free credits right off the bat just for signing up with them. And so there's really no reason not to do that. How you use those advertising credits is important. There's low cost ways to use them to generate some leads. Something that I would recommend doing is just pumping them into a remarketing campaign. So people who look at your website that you're driving manually will get ads for it too. If you spend all the like, say you spend $100 on just trying to get clicks, you might get like 30 clicks. It's not going to be a lot. And so that's I would say that's largely probably a waste up front. But if you're just pumping it into like kind of a low impact back end campaign after you reach out to people, then that can be really valuable. And so this doesn't have to be, I mean, you're going to have to spend time or money to get out of the hole. That's really the bottom line, and probably a little bit of both, but it doesn't have to be super expensive. You know, if someone comes to you and says, hey, we need to scale up a $10,000 a month ad campaign, that might be a little hard for like the average person to do right now. And so, you know, what are other ways that you can get your name out there and start generating revenue and income so you can pump money into these other channels, and then you can really scale up. But yeah, I think I mean, everything I mentioned, I'm going to provide the link for the slides so you can share that with everyone. And then yeah, I mean, basically I think that's something that people could do everything that I mentioned for less than $100 a month. And
I agree. I agree, because I'm doing almost all a part of the Vanity calls. I'm doing all of the other ones, and they are really like low cost, and they are like, they are not, well, they are mandatory if you want to build a business and be able to charge people credit cards and have a website. It's like, if you don't have a website, why should I pay $500 to do my eyebrows to you? You have no common sense. So
yeah.
I think, like, you know, like, give me something so I can trust you with my face, so you could slice my face, or even with my nails. I'll never go to even fix my nails, or, you know, like, people are very particular about it. And yeah, like a girlfriend as well, we do our research when we do and spend our hard-earned money to you guys. So now you have all the time in the world to do that website that you did it before. Maybe you didn't have time or money, but guess what? Like, you have to be, like, to keep up, to be relevant, even though you're like kind of like out of business these days.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so now you're right. Now's the perfect time to kind of hit the ground on this stuff. And think of it this way: if you're hesitant about spending money, the goal is to make more money. And so if you're doing this the right way, it's going to return one customer. If you're making, say you make $400 on a job, and your cost for doing the job is even half of that, one customer is going to pay for the whole month of all the advertising and website stuff you just did.
Exactly, I agree. Like, if you don't spend it, it's impossible to earn, because you're not gonna be able to keep up with your neighbor, which she will understand, and she will spend on whatever it takes in order, you know, to be there and to be relevant. So I guess it's what you pay is what you get at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Scott, thank you so much for your valuable time. If you guys need any help from his company, please feel free to reach out. We're gonna come back at 2 o'clock with Josh now. That's another smart cookie. He has built some very impressive brands in oral care, and he's gonna come and share everything with you guys. Thank you so much, Scott, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Bye.